Alaskan communities are disconnected from the rest of the country, making it difficult to predict risks effectively. And compiling data from such a vast region becomes an expensive and time-consuming venture. Whether it's a strong seasonal storm, earthquake, fire, or even air pollution, these issues can prompt a need for emergency responses. But due to the complexity of the region, decision-makers can struggle to effectively plan and execute strategies without some level of guesswork. And predicting outcomes of a response can lead to confusion and the misalignment of resources. These challenges can surprise first responders, limiting their ability to provide relief to those harmed by a disaster. When decision-makers are able to accurately predict outcomes, it helps to keep a situation from getting worse and allows leaders to offer assurance to those who worry about the dangers at hand. And by regular testing and training, the techniques and tools developed can be refined and used properly when urgency is required. Safe Arctic is focused on building and using tools to facilitate response, gather information, and assist in preparing for disasters. The project helps connect rural communities and federal workers in order to develop datasets that can communicate the risks and challenges of operating in a location before actions have to be made in real-world scenarios. To assist, there is a need to connect those who live in the region, compiling their local knowledge into federal planning, so that response efforts can ensure the highest level of preparedness.
The first thing we did was we came to Nome and interacted with people there, talked about the project, and got their input right from the beginning. Then we did a workshop in Nome where we brought in local people from the hospital, from the city, from the tribes, the local responders. We brought those people together and we asked them, what kinds of data sets do you think would be important to see in this common operating picture? And we imported those. But the next key thing that we did in this set of workshops is we started getting ideas for a tabletop exercise where people will be in Teller and Nome and Anchorage and DC. They will be isolated as they will be in a response. And we said, what kind of scenarios would be good to have in this tabletop?
The complexity of Alaska and other Arctic regions is quite different from the rest of the country, and much of the information does not exist in any database, limiting the efforts of those unfamiliar with rural Alaska. As seen with recent storms like typhoons Halong and Merbok, responding to a disaster can be delayed or hindered when information is limited. For resources to be deployed effectively, there needs to be a level of clarity for decision makers. It's not just important to know what you are responding to, but it's also crucial to know if first responders are being sent with proper equipment, supplies, and information. This helps to eliminate the time it takes to solve the problem, speeding up the recovery process so those impacted by a disaster can return to their way of life. We'll never be able to see all possible variables or outcomes, but we can compile all we can to avoid errors. The daunting task of building a database is a complex undertaking. First, there needs to be a common tool for collecting and displaying information. Then the data needs to be added so decision makers can quickly act on the information when needed. The environmental response management application, known as ARCTIC-IRMA, can be used to help develop the database and assist in scenario planning for rural Alaska. Through workshops and training, more people can effectively use and update the platform. And by connecting with local residents, or those familiar with the region, those using ARCTIC-IRMA can collect and build the database, or correct past data entries. To do this project seeks to connect rural communities to the outside world with the use of in-person events or through the web, building on a database of information to assist with regional disasters, connecting the input of rural communities and state partners to help facilitate better responses to emergencies.
So one of the big objectives of the Safe Arctic project is developing tools and technologies that can be used during a crisis to increase communications and guide response planning. And so we're going to train people to use these tools in the first part of the workshop. And then during the exercise, they'll be using those tools and technologies like IRMA to share information and coordinate in a simulated crisis scenario. And so our hope is that by giving these trainings that have also incorporated local knowledge into the tools, that this is something that Alaskan communities can rely on when they do face a disaster. So Safe Arctic is really all about preparedness and putting effort into these trainings and discussions in tabletop exercises so that people have the opportunity in a low stress environment to talk about their concerns and what elements of disaster response they most feel they need to work on or they most need support, so that we have those conversations prior to an actual disaster. And so we're working as hard as possible to create the types of situations people would find themselves in. And that's one of the values of the tabletop, is that you can really try out how would communication from Teller to Nome and from Nome to Anchorage and other places look like. And then when you add in some of these digital tools, we can really integrate the technology with a lot of the local knowledge when we think about disaster response.
We're developing a MCDA model, a multi-criteria decision analytical model, to try to understand that the interactions between different stakeholders, and each stakeholders have multiple criteria to consider in the decision-making process. We're going to integrate them together in the context of Arctic security process. The other side is we're developing some tools that are like AI-assisted decision-making tools to help the stakeholders make their decisions in the Arctic security context. For example, we just had the interaction with the mayor of Nome, and he requested us to develop some tools for them, and we are working on that right now. And I think after that tools is developed and delivered, I think that will be immediately be useful and beneficial to the local communities.
When responding to a rural community, there is the need to know basic data related to the needs of the first responders. Information like where there is stable ground, location of fresh water, animal migration patterns, and cultural knowledge of the region. If an earthquake or a storm hits a region, this information can tell decision makers where the resources can be stationed, where searches need to happen for people who are missing, whether food needs to be shipped in, and much more. Through the project's numerous workshops, local residents are able to assist federal workers with developing the database with important information, and also serve as a way to educate more users on how to get the most out of Arctic IRMA. With the updated information, game theory events are conducted in order to test if this information is effectively solving theoretical scenarios. Additionally, visual narratives are developed to capture the way of life for the region, with easy-to-understand images and maps to help the decision maker quickly comprehend what communities are like. Not only do these illustrations assist with the communication of the culture, it also showcases the mindset of how local communities see the land around them. With these datasets, first responders can effectively maneuver unfamiliar terrain, strategize how to deploy resources, plan where to store equipment, and how to respect the culture and traditions of the region. Building the briefing materials needed so that loss of life can be minimized. Communicating important life-saving information to those on the ground. This helps to eliminate the confusion experienced in the heat of the moment, and supplies everyone with a clear vision of how to solve the situation. Teams work together best when they are all on the same page, and the datasets of rural Alaska paired with the Arctic IRMA platform gives first responders the ability to see through the fog of confusion.
We've focused this project on Nome and Teller as communities that would be good to pilot. But there are communities all along the coast of Alaska that face these same problems. In the end, it's always people that are impacted and their lives are being, helter-skelter by some kind of disaster. How can we best help them deal with the long-term implications. And one of the best starting points is to understand where they're coming from. And so I think that's an important thing too.